Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to MCP Night. You know, we did this event about 3 months ago. How many of you were there? Yeah, a bunch of you. We just blew away our expectations. We were not expecting anybody to really show up. We had hundreds and hundreds of people show up. So tonight, we're doing 2.0. We're doing it again. And once again, a bunch of you have shown up. We have had a line around the block, I think, for the last hour. Thank you all for showing up on a Thursday night. We couldn't be more excited for this. Here's what we have in store for you this evening. First, we're going to kick off talking a little bit about what we've been building over the last few months at WorkOS and MCP. We have a special demo from a partner we've been working with. After that, we'll transition into some lightning demos from maybe a few companies you've heard of. Folks like VS Code, Cursor, Goose, which is Block's open source MCP server. After that, we'll switch into a small panel discussion where you'll hear from a couple people from Anthropic and OpenAI, two companies you've definitely heard of. And then lastly, we will go downstairs for the best part of the night. We'll have an after party for all of you. Yeah. So we got a packed program. Hold on. Let's get started. All right. Quick show of hands. How many of you are building a startup right now or have worked at a startup? Yeah, this is San Francisco, so it feels like it's just about everybody, right? Well, the story of WorkOS really starts with the story of startups. When a startup is founded, the first step is to launch, to build your initial product and start getting it to the hands of those initial users. You might launch it through things like Hacker News or Twitter, and if you're lucky and you work really hard, you will start to achieve that early product market fit with customers. You'll get more and more users, it'll continue to grow organically, people will be sharing it, and then if you're sort of one of the chosen few, hopefully you'll actually be able to monetize this. And then from there, sky's the limit, you'll continue growing. WorkOS fits into this because WorkOS helps make your app enterprise ready. And so what this means is we work with companies as they're growing in scale so that they can go work with bigger and bigger organizations themselves. It essentially allows you to take whatever app you built when you get product market fit to go sell it to the biggest organizations in the world. We do this through a bunch of different things. So there's a bunch of different things you need to add to your app to actually sell it to enterprise customers. Includes things like users and auth, how they sign in. If you've ever heard of single sign-on, SSO, that's a big thing that we spend a lot of time on. Also things like integrations with third-party systems, logging, visibility into products, permissions, role-based access control, security features. All of these things you have to add to your app if you actually want to scale up market to enterprise customers. And so we as a company, we've been around for 6.5, coming up on 7 years, doing this, building all of these things that you probably don't really see day to day unless you're an enterprise IT person. But it's really important stuff. And we serve some of the biggest companies in the world today. Here are just a few of them. So if you've used one of these products, if you've used ChatGPT Enterprise or Claude or Perplexity or Cursor, you've signed in through WorkOS. You're actually using a product powered by WorkOS. Today, the breakout AI companies are powered by WorkOS. So even though we ourselves are not really an AI company, we're not launching foundational models, we ourselves have been kind of thrust into the momentum happening in the AI world, which we've been really excited about and grown like crazy. AI products grow faster, and so what we're finding is that they need to become enterprise ready much sooner in their life cycle. You know, in the past, if a company like DocuSign maybe took 9 or 10 years to get to 100 million in revenue, we're seeing companies like Cursor do that in less than a year. And the timeline is even getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So they need to be enterprise ready sooner, and that's why we found they're a great fit for working with us at WorkOS. But we're not here tonight just to talk about enterprise IT features, as much as I would love to do that, of course. We're here to talk about MCP. So MCP. What is MCP? Well, MCP is the Model Context Protocol. And if you're not familiar with it, maybe you just stumbled in off the street, I don't know. Hopefully you're familiar with it. MCP enables you to integrate your product with AI systems, and likewise the inverse. So it's actually this bridge between whatever app you're building, whatever system you're building, and the popular AI tools like ChatGPT, Cursor, VS Copilot, Claude, these systems. It's really this bidirectional thing to actually connect these systems together. People have called it like USB-C for AI products. It's a new protocol. So if you go back in time and unravel, years and years and years ago with the formation of the internet, we started with TCP, which you probably have heard about or seen. After that, we built things around HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This is the foundation of the browser. So when you type HTTP into that URL bar, it's actually going over this protocol. From that, REST, representational state transfer. If you've ever interacted with an API, maybe the Stripe API or the Twilio API, you're probably doing it through REST endpoints. And finally, we come to MCP, this universal adapter for AI products and agents. We'll hear about that later. As someone that loves acronyms and loves new protocols, I couldn't be more excited about this progression and what's been happening in the world over the last year. So just like how WorkOS makes your app enterprise ready, what we've been building this year is a way to make your MCP enterprise ready. And the way we do this is by putting WorkOS in between the app that you've built and your customers. It essentially acts as middleware that provides a bunch of features needed for security, encryption, compliance, logging, access control. All that stuff I mentioned before, we're applying it to MCP as well. If you were here at MCP night, or I guess not here at the Exploratorium, 3 months ago, we launched something in AuthKit for MCP. And AuthKit is our login box, our identity layer. You can just kind of think about it as a hosted login experience. If you've ever used Cursor, I mentioned, that's actually WorkOS AuthKit. And we launched MCP support into that product for everybody for free. The demo that we gave, which you guys probably had seen, was mcp.shop. This is still live today, and I'm pretty sure it's still the only place you can get MCP merch, which is, we all know swag is very important. And the way that you order it is through an MCP interaction. Actually, you have to add it as an MCP server to your client. So we launched that 3 months ago. We've sent out a few hundred of these shirts. I saw a few people earlier wearing them in the audience. The way this works is that WorkOS essentially acts as the authorization server. And then your code acts as the resource server. So these are some phrases that happen with OAuth if you're not familiar with the protocol. Essentially what I'm saying here is the WorkOS side, we're handling all the users, the login, the passwords, keeping track of all that stuff. And so when you write your MCP code, your MCP server code, you don't have to think about any of that. You can just think about resources and tools and the functionality that you want to provide to users. And this separation makes it really easy to kind of get all the security stuff right out of the box without having to think about it at all. So we launched this a few months ago, and we've seen it grow and do pretty well. We've had a lot of different MCP servers built on WorkOS, and their usage start to compound and grow, which we're really, really excited about. But that was May, which I guess was only a few months ago, but it feels like it's about a decade in the era of AI. So what's new since May? What's happened? Well, there's a ton of new stuff that's happened in the world since then, obviously. First of all, there's a ton of new MCP servers that are out there. By our count, over 5,400 new MCP servers. So these are things that users can actually connect their MCP clients to and start using. We'll hear about some of them tonight, some demos from some of the more popular ones, but it's kind of getting to that point. You remember those old commercials, like there's an app for that? Feels like there's an MCP server for that today. Also, there have been a lot of new features added to MCP. MCP is a spec, it's a protocol. New things like elicitation, support for Windows, different resource authorization around it. There's tons of new stuff that's been put into it. And one of the things I'm the most excited about that's changed over the last few months is actually the number of MCP clients that are out there. So, MCP was originated from Anthropic and Claude. Support came to ChatGPT. Now it's in VS Code. Some of you maybe have used open source systems like Goose. But there are a lot more clients out there pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the world of MCP. By my count, there's over 80 different systems that can act as an MCP client today. And this is really exciting, because the clients are hard to build. One of the design principles around MCP is to make it easy for the server developers, if you're building an MCP server like you all probably are. And so the weight of implementation is actually on the client development. And so we've seen a lot of momentum here, and not just tiny startups, but bigger companies investing in this. So all this to say is, I think the future is really bright for MCP. It's growing a lot. Week over week, month over month, MCP night after MCP night. I think we're double what we were last time, so it's on that trajectory. However, not everything is as rosy and perfect in MCP land as you might think, given this. There was a blog post a few months ago by Elena Cross, who wrote, the S in MCP stands for security. There have been a lot of security issues with MCP, to say the least. We talked about this at the last MCP night, the introduction of OAuth 2.1, which allowed you to very, very quickly connect MCP servers to third-party systems. But there's a lot of bugs that have come up in that time, a lot of vulnerabilities. OAuth, like any standard, gets implemented a zillion different ways. And today, even though we have this great OAuth integration thing, actually only 40%, less than 40% of MCP servers that are out there support OAuth to connect. It's like a pretty low number, actually. It's not great. If you've all connected MCP servers, you've probably seen this experience where you have to go into some app and copy a token, copy an API key, and then go put it in this like manual configuration somewhere and save that to disk. This is a pretty clunky way to get stuff set up. I think if this is how we're depending on doing auth for MCP, it's not going to go very far. Mere mortals are not going to do this stuff, right? Or muggles, or whatever you want to call it. We need something better, but this is the current state of the world. And this is not the state of the world just for hackers building stuff. This is the state of the world for products like Vercel. This is how you connect Vercel's MCP server. Or Supabase. How many people here use Supabase? Yeah, it's like the development platform for all startups. This is how you connect Supabase, or even GitHub. In order to connect GitHub's MCP server, you have to go in and create like a personal access token. Go try it tonight. I can tell you it's pretty clunky. So we've been thinking about this a lot more, of how to bring that OAuth experience, where previously we were demoing it just to kind of give away free t-shirts, right? And bring it to more developers building products, and hopefully developers at established companies. Because the most exciting thing about MCP, bringing context into the clients, isn't for random new apps that just launch on Hacker News that you add. It's actually established companies that have a lot of data about you that you can bring into the LLMs. That's why these products are great. That's why we want to bring it to things like GitHub, right? So how can we do it securely to a bunch of like established products, larger companies? We think this all starts with authentication. Authentication, proving you are who you say you are, and the next step around that is doing that authorization, so that actual access control as to what you have capabilities to do. So we've built some pretty cool stuff around this. It starts off with your app already having users. So our design principle around this was actually to make it so it works with existing products. If you're starting something brand new, you don't have any users, it's pretty easy. You can vibe code it, you can get going. But if you have a product you've been working on for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, we have thousands and thousands of users, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, tons of customers, you don't want to refactor and rewrite that whole thing. You just want to layer something on top. And you want to connect it to your MCP servers, which needs that authentication, kind of the end users at the end of the day. And so you need something that lives in the middle. And this is what we've built, actually, over the last 3 months, where WorkOS acts as what we're calling an OAuth bridge between these two things, bringing that OAuth-like integration experience to the world of MCP for existing products. Okay, so hopefully you're with me so far. This is getting pretty deep. But we think that this is kind of like the holy grail for adding authentication around MCP to existing products. You don't need to have this copying API token mess. You don't need to go back and forth, in your terminal with users. You could have this magical experience with one click where you can just add it, users can add it to their MCP client, and hopefully do it with established products. So we've been working on this for a while, and we were trying to figure out a company to work on this with, to actually get kind of some designs in practice and get some feedback. And a few weeks ago, I was at the office of Mux. If you guys aren't familiar, Mux is a really cool company. It's been around for a while, doing video transcoding and video streaming. And they were demoing some stuff, and I got talking to them and said, hey, what if we actually put these two things together? What if we could actually find a way to have Mux, which has been an API-focused business for a long time, API keys, they have lots of users, they're powering tons of video on the internet. What if we could bring this magical experience around MCP that's very novel today to a code base and platform that's been around for 10 years or so? So we're really excited about this. And to kick stuff off in true MCP night fashion, we're going to do our first live demo. What do you guys think? All right. So to give a demo of this integration, what we built, please welcome Matt from Mux to the stage, co-founder Mux.
Thanks, Michael. I'm going to not plug in for just a second, because that'll stave off the demo gods for just a little bit longer. But hi, I'm Matt. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Mux. We build online video infrastructure for developers. So that's like data analytics for some of the biggest media companies in the world, like Paramount, Crunchyroll, Fox, WD, those kind of folks. And then also startups. We do all of their video hosting, streaming, delivery, all that sort of infrastructure for companies like Patreon and Substack. So as Michael pointed out, he was not being hyperbolic about the timeline. I go to a lot of AI and startup events lately, and I was chatting with another founder recently. He was like, oh, you went through YC, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, what year? I was like, winter 16. And his face, he was like, 10 years. I was like, it's not 10 years yet, thank you. Not quite. But, we have been doing this long enough that, just before this, I was chatting with one of our earliest employees who himself has gone through YC and started a company, and we're still good friends. So, so anyway, as he was saying, one of the things that I think people don't really talk about when it comes to scale is, with thousands of customers and revenue attached to them, suddenly you can't just blow things up anymore. So if I could go back in time, had you existed in 2016, I definitely would have used WorkOS. You should probably just use something like WorkOS if you're starting a company today. But we didn't. So now it's okay, OAuth is not at the top of our list. We're an AI-centric, or we're an API-centric company. It's something that would be great to have, but it just never floated quite high enough. We launched a local MCP. Customers really loved it. They were like, okay, well, can we get a hosted version so that it'd be easier to roll this out to our employees? And suddenly, OAuth kind of shot up in the roadmap a little bit. And I was chatting with Michael after an event. I was like, is there something we could do together? How would this work? And he was like, I think maybe we could. We had a call the next day, and 2 weeks later, we have this demo. So that's pretty sweet. So, okay. So what we're going to walk through here is I've already got this very aptly named alpha.mcp.mux.com. This does work today. Justin made me promise to tell you that you could use it, but just know that it might go down randomly over the next couple weeks while we roll it out officially. Click that connect button. That's going to take you to just the standard Mux login. So this is our login infrastructure. Make sure I click the right user here. All right. We'll pick the right environment. Boom, pops us right back in. So what happened there, went to our just normal login, went from there to WorkOS for the OAuth handshake, and then back into Claude. So from here, let's see, I've already, no, we don't want to show passwords. Let's see. I went ahead, oh no! I was very careful to make sure that I had the right, there we go. Just so you don't have to do multiple steps, because love Claude, sometimes it can pontificate a lot. So while it's pontificating, we built a lot of features for video around making it better to host and stream. So you can grab any frame from a video to use as a thumbnail. So you might want to use it for a poster or something like that as you're showing it, or a preview GIF. Or we have automatic transcripts, and you might want to use those for captions in your player. And it turns out that all of these things that we built along the way over the last 10 years, 8 for the video product, are really, really useful when combined with these LLMs to build awesome workflows around your videos. So say you're a user-generated content platform, and you want to build automatic situations for content moderation, or you want to automatically summarize your content, or whatever else. All these primitives that we built work really well with these agentic workflows and this MCP to kind of give you great experiences. So I asked it, use the storyboard image and transcript from Mux to summarize this specific playback ID, which I cheated and grabbed beforehand. And it grabbed our storyboard image, which is a sprite of the whole video. And yeah, shows it and goes to the audio content and everything like that and returns it. So it's pretty cool. And this is all enabled by WorkOS helping us out. So thanks, guys.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. A bunch of our demos at WorkOS, when we do it right, you don't see anything. It just works. You log in and it just works. And you can imagine for a product like Mux, if you're a customer of theirs and you've been using it for years and years and years, you have so much information and context in that product. You have so much video for your company. And bringing that into something like Claude, hugely powerful. So we're super, super excited about this, the potential for this, not just for Mux, obviously, but for other companies that are looking to quickly add MCP auth to their existing system, their existing accounts, That Mux login page is their standard login page. They didn't have to rebuild that or change anything. The world is changing as well around agents. There's an overlap between MCP and agents too that we'll talk about. But I think at the end of the day, really, this divergence is happening between developers building their apps, writing code, and these different type of systems that are interfacing with it. It's no longer just a user at their browser. It might be an MCP server connecting, or an agent, or a headless system. And a lot of what we're building here in the AI space is actually for WorkOS to kind of sit in between and provide that secure link between the two sides. So you can focus on building your app, and your end users can get it really quickly into whatever experience they want, all the while the whole thing being secure. And so we're hoping that we can actually put the S in MCP. And so we're really excited about this. We are going to start rolling this out in beta. We're calling this WorkOS Secure MCP. Please get in touch with us if you're interested in using it. It has a bunch of stuff built in, including users and auth, visibility, logging around permissions, blocking bots. We have a whole product called Radar that does that. We're really excited to start rolling this out and to see what all of you build for it, especially if you're working at one of these companies, kind of like Mux, where you're still a startup, you're still growing, but you already have a lot of customers and already have a lot of context, and you want to really quickly get that into production. Matt wasn't lying when he said that was 2 weeks. It's been some heroic work. So one more hand for him, and also the team at WorkOS that's built this. Yeah.